Good morning folks, this is Sandy from Talk of Thailand, and today's video is something that's been requested by quite a few people actually. They've taken an interest in my teaching, and they have mentioned that maybe in the future they will also want to consider, when they come to Thailand, they maybe want to take up teaching as a pastime, and they've asked various questions about it. So I thought I'd go through that today. And also other people have been asking me about the YouTube aspect as well and how I combine them both. Well, actually combining YouTube and the teaching is quite easy actually, because as I teach online, then I need to have the facilities to cameras and computers, etc., to be able to teach online. And that's also very useful because I've had the cameras, etc., to do YouTube. If you ask me which I prefer to do, actually I like doing them both actually. The YouTube is more a hobby and it's relaxation. Actually they're both hobbies actually. The only difference is the teaching. I do get some recompense in money from doing that. At this present moment in time I don't make anything from YouTube, but hopefully maybe in the future, when enough people feel happy enough to subscribe and like and do all these things. I know I don't like asking for people to do that. I feel if they appreciate the video, then they would do it automatically, and if they don't, I don't want to beg for subscriptions or likes, etc., or comments. But I do enjoy the comments that I get on YouTube. And I try to respond to as many of them as possible, and in this particular instance is what I'm doing actually by today's video. Now let me start from the beginning, because I went into the YouTube side quite a bit before I took up teaching, and to do that, I've always had a few computers, laptops, etc., left over from when I was working, contracting all over the place. I had my desktops here, and I had laptops, etc., going. So computers were never a problem. I've always had them. But when I took up YouTube, then I decided I'd probably have to get some better cameras. Although anybody that's considering taking up YouTube, you don't need to have high value cameras to begin. Your average smartphone camera is very good. I do have a slight hand tremor, which makes it quite difficult for me to get steady film with cameras with not good stabilization. So to get over that, then I got myself a new telephone, the Samsung S20, which is a superb stabilization, and I've used that extensively. And I've also purchased a GoPro 8, which is an action camera, also which I've used for YouTube. Recently I've purchased the new Go 360, which is a very small camera that I can fit here on my chest. It's got a magnetic plate that you hang around your neck and inside your shirt, and you can just attach the very small camera to the front. It's a good camera, it's a good action camera. It's not as good as the GoPro by a long shot. The GoPro is much better in the various light conditions, but this is the GoPro now I'm filming with actually. And the 360 is the reason I like the 360 is if I'm going down the beach, or I'm wanting to go into a shopping centre or go somewhere like that, then I want to use the 360 on my chest, because it's not so evident. It doesn't stick in people's faces. If I'm walking along the beach with a GoPro like this, then a lot of nobody's ever said anything to me, but I see some people drawing me looks, etc., and I feel many people don't like to be filmed and what they're doing, etc. And I can understand that. I try to avoid it, actually. I try to avoid it. There are certain YouTubers here that walk up and down the beach, and their desperation is to film the tums and bits of the beautiful ladies that are all down on the beach. So I suppose they've got a huge viewing market for that, because there are some very nice girls down there, but that is not my style, and I don't want to be doing that. So let me just go into the YouTube side and the teaching side. Well, when I started on the YouTube, I only had this this area here, which is a little patio area at my house, where I set up a computer setup. I'll just let you see that now. That was here. I used to have a two-screen setup here, and that was what I was using. And this one now is set up because my daughter was doing online learning from her school, video learning from her school. So I set this computer up here for my daughter to do her schoolwork, and she uses the computer quite extensively now for all sorts of things. Actually, she likes TikTok and she likes YouTube, and she plays games, etc. So I've left it set up here, and I feel in time then it will probably come back again, because the schools will close again here. I'm fairly positive of that, because the situation here in Thailand is not so good. Even though many people, I think I live in a different Thailand or certainly in a different Pattaya to many people around here, because watching their videos and listening to them talking, COVID is now finished, and the pubs are selling alcohol in a limited way. No, not the pubs, not the bars. The restaurants, and many of the bar restaurants that have recently converted, are selling alcohol during limited times. And that is a signal for the majority of people and a lot of the local vloggers to say that the COVID's over and the future's looking great, and next year it's going to be back to full swing as normal. But so they must be living in a different world to me, I guess, because I don't see that at all. Far from it. I see things getting very dangerous. For instance, they've just declared here that on New Year's Eve they're going to allow a countdown, the fireworks, etc., and alcohol to be sold up to 1 AM on the 1st of January. Now, Christmas is about 10 days away at the moment, so we're about 17 days, no, we're 20 days, 19, 20 days from New Year now, and a lot can change in that time. So I'm not holding my breath on these celebrations going ahead, but they are relaxing all the restrictions that they placed, and whereas before they started relaxing the restrictions, the contagion rate here in the Banglamung area, which includes Pattaya and the surrounding areas, was very low. They had it well controlled because the bars were all closed, the restaurants weren't allowed to sell alcohol. They let them open and start selling food again after a long shutdown, but everything was well controlled, and the contagion level in Pattaya was actually down into single figures most of the time. It did go up occasionally up to about 30 people maybe in the occasional day, when some building contractors or something had happened that presented an area where the virus was spreading. But other than that, it was very, very good. But now that they started lifting restrictions, and the first one was that the restaurants could sell alcohol, and they've been putting on a lot of good functions to drag the Thai community into Pattaya to boost what's missing from the tourists. They've been putting on music weekends and fireworks displays, and various other attractions to encourage people to come to Pattaya, and it certainly worked. Like just last Friday, which would have been the 24th, 17th, the 16th, I think, 16th, 17th, anyway. The place was absolutely mobbed, and we had decided to go down to a seafood restaurant in Pattaya that normally in the old days could cater for up to 2,000 people, and we went down there expecting we'd get a seat no problem at all, but because it was also combined, that weekend was the a holiday weekend, and the Friday was a holiday as well as a Saturday, Sunday, it was absolutely packed. We had trouble getting a seat, and the car parks, we had a problem getting a car park, and that's a restaurant that can cater for up to 2,000 people, around that number anyway. So it was certainly busy. I've watched videos on how many people were downtown for the music festival, and there was a few, but that wasn't as busy as I've seen in previous weekends. And I think Thai people are now realising also that it's not safe to go to some of these events, because there has been quite an increase in infection rates from those events, and we've seen it here in Pattaya, and it's not good. And now they're planning even less restrictions over Christmas and New Year. They're even talking about, I hear rumours about bars opening and selling alcohol. Then it's a recipe for disaster when you look around the rest of the world, and the Europe and the UK and the USA, and what's happening there. They must be walking either with their heads in the clouds or with their heads in the sand, because they're certainly not considering ahead. And this happened to Thailand in the original waves of the COVID, where the first ones and the second waves were relatively light, and they thought, oh, Thailand's never going to have a problem with the COVID, and then the third wave brought them to their knees and changed everything. So this has got the possibility of doing that also. And the people that are looking ahead into next year saying it's all going to be bright and cheerful, I don't think so. I think that's impossible. Even if Thailand got away lightly, the rest of the world isn't, and there's not going to be a lot of people wanting to travel here even next year. So I don't know when that will end. Anyway, now that I've gone off subject, let me get back on subject and give you a brief outline about my YouTube and teaching again. So I started here outside in this little patio area, and then I had to move inside. The problem with working here for YouTube or teaching was that it is open and there's motorbikes going up and down the road. Just here I've got my parrot's house, Chaba the parrot. She stays here, and when she sees a cat or anything else that concerns her, my God, she can let out a lot of noise, and that wasn't conducive with trying to talk to people over the computer or to try and make videos. So when I started schooling, it was pretty much impossible. I could get around it on the YouTube, but doing it on while I was teaching, it was virtually impossible. So this is the patio area here. We've got the parrot's cage here, and we've got the necessary exercise machine here, which does nothing but take up space. Won't talk about that too much. It's very little used, just put it that way. And then we used to have a table here with the chairs where we could sit and eat, etc. But now we do all our eating, etc. out here, and we've got two kitchens. We've got this outside kitchen here, and we've got an inside kitchen as well, which is a European style kitchen inside. And this is not far away from a European kitchen because I've fitted an electric oven, and we've got a big gas hob out here, it does all we want, and it's very pleasant to sit out here. It's sitting inside the house when you're cooking, etc. I think it gets too hot. And why would you do that if you've got this facility here? Just as let you have a quick look round. There again is my beautiful wife, who's just come back from the market and been down to get her dinner, and she's sitting here with her telephone and her breakfast rather, not her dinner. My daughter's at school. The schools are back in here for not all are full time. My daughter's full time, but some are one day on, one day off. And out here we've got a driveway and a side bit where we keep our 2 motorbikes, and the pickup remains outside the gate, so we have space to move. And my wife did have a very, very lovely garden out here, which I'll just show you now. Unfortunately, we got a boxer pup not so long ago, and we've got 2 other very young dogs. We got a Chihuahua and a Pomeranian, and look what they've done. Look what they've done. They have absolutely destroyed the garden. All the plants here. Oh, look who's lying here in a hole she's dug here. Huh? What are you doing? All this, isn't it? Been trying to dig their way down to Australia. So that's given us our next project. We've got to get the garden all done up again, and we're going to get it slabbed, etc., and so make it a bit more difficult for the dogs to dig these holes. You know, we started putting our Christmas decorations up here, so it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas, or maybe it's not actually. In fact, it isn't. There's very little Christmas spirit around here in Thailand or anywhere actually. But I have to try and get motivated on that for my daughter. Actually, she will have a Christmas for her. And I'm very fortunate that I've got a couple of good friends that are going to join us for Christmas dinner here, and we should have a nice Christmas day at least. I must show you this. I hope you can make that out. 4 years ago I took my wife and daughter to the UK, and this was just in Portsmouth. Of course, I'm ex-Royal Navy. I spent 25 years in the Navy, and this was just outside Portsmouth Naval Dockyard. And I've had a photograph of a framed photograph of this ship on my wall for many years, and my wife didn't recognise it when she saw it. And I said, "Do you know that ship?" She said, "No, why would I know that ship?" I said, "Because you see it every day." So anyway, for my birthday, I think my 70th birthday actually, my wife got this photograph blown up and put in a frame for me as a remembrance of that visit, and I like it very much, and it sits here and it reminds us all of that lovely visit. We spent 4 weeks over in the UK, most of it in Scotland, but there we go. So this is my daughter's office now. Not a bad office for a 5.5-year-old. So we come in here. This is our house. We have got a Christmas tree up here, and somewhere here stalking around is a parrot. There she is. This is her indoor cage. So when she wants to get out of a big cage, she comes in here, and she can terrorise people trying to pass her. She loves this area of the house along the front of this unit here. And this is 2 of the bedrooms here. And anybody going into the bedroom, except for me, can get rapidly attacked by this bad-tempered, red-headed bird named Chaba. I'm sure you may have seen her if you've watched some of my other videos. Anyway, going back to the story of the YouTube and teaching, I had to get this office added. This used to be a big space here, and I had to get this office constructed, walls put up, etc., to be able to teach, and it was primarily for teaching. So this is it. This is the headquarters of where I do everything. Something else I must show you, my absolute pride and joy. There we go, that's Hms Victory, or a model of Hms Victory, which we also visited in Portsmouth Dockyard. And this is my only really linked back to my naval times, which I thoroughly enjoyed my time in the Navy. It had ups and downs, but I enjoy having this in my office and showing it to various people when I'm teaching, if I have anybody with a nautical background. I've had quite a few actually, mariners working from Russia and various other countries who are studying English to get their to get some sort of advancement at home. So here we go. This is it. This is where I do all my teaching, and I'll just run you through that now. It's not exactly the tidiest it's been, but let me show you here. And I'll go through the equipment that I've actually got to do the teaching. And this is a bit where people have been asking me about how I go about my teaching. This might be the bit of interest. So, okay, let me go through my camera equipment first. There's my main teaching camera there, as you can see. This is the one I do it all, and I use this screen here. I use for the student. I have them up there. There's several aspects we can use. If I'm on iTalki, they have their own classroom setup which we can use, and it's okay. Alternatively, we can use Skype. We can use Zoom, and we can use Google Meet. So that's where I meet the students on this screen here. Now while I'm teaching, this screen here is very, very important, because on there I have all the documents set up on that screen that I'm going to use during that particular lesson. And I put them up there, and I can use I have the lesson plan up there, so I can work through it in a logical manner, and I've got all the supporting information that I need to present the lesson and put it across to the students. And it works very well, and that would be the minimum setup that I would recommend. People do it without the two screens, etc. They can do it on a laptop. Many people do it on a laptop, but it all depends on the type of teaching you're doing. Okay, let me just finish with that. My webcam as such is a Sony Handycam that it's connected to my computer, and it replaces I find this much more effective with better quality than the standard webcams that you can put on a computer. So I've got that, and there's my other camera. That's my Samsung S20, which is very good. I've got all the attachments for that. I've got my Rode mic, which is also essential. It gives good communication between myself and the students. Very clear, very loud if I want it to be. And around here, it's a bit of a jungle at the moment, but the top shelf there is something very important also. There's my drone setup, battery charger, and the controller here, and all the supporting equipment for the drones in the bag there. Down here is my GoPro stuff. All the stuff with the GoPro. I've got virtually all the accessories. You know, it becomes a bit addictive when you start. When you start, you want to have the right equipment, and then you see all the attachments. You think, well, all the various accessories that you can purchase. You think, oh, that might come in handy, and this may come in handy, and this may come in handy. And I bought a lot of stuff that a lot of it I've never used, but maybe in due course I will use a lot of it, because if I want to get out and do more filming outside and do more YouTube videos, so some of it may come in handy actually. And I also want to get my daughter involved in it, because she likes producing. She likes making videos and putting it on the TikTok, etc., with her animals, etc. So she got a little bit of a surprise. I think Father Christmas is going to bring her something, a camera very similar to my GoPro. In fact, it's identical. It's a GoPro 8. So she'll be a very lucky girl. She'll get that from Santa, I believe. I've got when I got the office constructed, I got this back wall painted green. So if I wanted to do any green screen videoing, then it's quite possible. I've got lots of floodlights. I've got floodlights here, one over there. I've got a couple more I can build up if I want them, but God, it makes it like an oven in here and it's too bright. And just watch your eyes. Above here, I got a very high intensity LED light put up there. So I really don't need all these floodlights, etc. I did it one time, but I kind of negated the requirement for the use by when I built this office and putting in the better lighting, etc. So that's my setup, and that's for YouTube. That's for YouTubing and for teaching, and that's how I teach. I get the students on this screen here, and this one is all the supportive documentation. I did have charts, etc. on this wall up here where I could easily refer to things if I wanted it, but I never used them, so I took them down again, because if you're doing it every day, you know what you need to know, and you don't need to refer to charts, etc. When I was beginning, and when I was at the start of my teaching, I wasn't 100% confident in myself that I could do it all, but once you do a few, it soon comes to you. Up to date, I think I've probably done about maybe 400 to 500 lessons, I think, somewhere in that order, and that's really starting from June of this year, when I took up teaching seriously. So it's been quite good. A lot of it's been busy. I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of very nice people, and that going on. So let me turn this camera around, and let me, sorry, I hope you can all see me there. So let me talk more about the teaching, and because people have a lot of questions about it. Now then, I started teaching. I started with an online platform called Preply, and I moved to another one called iTalki, purely for financial, and it was proved much more lucrative. But I also have my own website now, my teaching website, where I can get private students, and I can put materials up there to advertise and to attract people. Some of them do book on my private website, but it brings a lot into iTalki when you only want to take 1 or 2 lessons to check it out. The difference being is on my website I offer courses, starting if somebody's starting to take an exam and they're planning to do it in 6 months' time, I can get an estimate of how they're going to get there, speak to them once or twice, and I quickly get an idea of their capabilities. And then it gets a bit more intricate, because I design all the lessons but as per the student's requirements. Okay, now I've been doing it for some time. I don't need to spend a lot of time. I can pick them out quite quickly from the lessons that I've already created. Let me just tell you about what I've done now. I've kind of specialized. I've come away from general English teaching. I'm now into two real aspects, actually. English exam preparation, of which there's quite a few. There's a Canadian CIPIT or something like that. And the main one I do is IELTS, which is the International English Level Testing System. And there's also TOEFL, which is the teaching of English for foreign learners. These are all various assessment exams to assess people's English abilities to, primarily, for most of them, it's to go to universities abroad, where they've got to have a standard English in UK, South Africa, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and even the USA. They all need to have a certain level of English to be accepted into university. And that's where I specialise now, because no matter which exam they're taking, it doesn't really make any difference to what I've got to teach them, actually, because I've got to teach them to speak English, and I've got to cover all 4 aspects. I've got to get them to read accurately and understand, and I've got to get them to listen and understand what's being said. We've got to get them writing, which is also a big job. And the biggest aspect of all, where they're all terrified, and the majority are terrified, is the speaking aspect. And that's the 4 aspects. So all these exams, no matter what exam it is, they all cover these basic aspects. So to me, it's fairly easy. The only difference between them is the exam layout. They'll have different ways of doing it, but they're all testing the same thing. So I am aware of all the various exams and the way they test them for the speaking and the writing and reading and listening, and I adapt the lessons to make my my presentation to them and get them to as close as possible, knowing what's going to be in front of them when they take the exam. And I try to get the people I'm teaching up to a high level of confidence, and a high level, which takes a high level ability as well. I get some very crazy requests. I've had people coming on saying, look, I haven't really considered it before, but I'm taking this exam, whatever exam it is, and I think I need a bit of help. Okay, and I can tell right away they need quite a bit of help. And okay, I said, well, when are you planning on taking this exam? I had one said, tomorrow. It's crazy, you know, it really is crazy. They're not giving themselves time. I would say, some people, it really depends on the level that they're at the moment, and it's assessing that level and assessing the strengths and weaknesses and know where you can build it up, etc. But universities can be quite difficult, because, you know, if you're getting marked across all 4 disciplines of the English language, then the end score is a combination of all 4 which are equally marked. But some universities say, okay, when you're taking, say, the IELTS, they'll say a band 6.5, which is quite a good standard, quite a high standard of English actually, is acceptable, but the English section must be a minimum of a band 7. So that's putting a real cross on the back of the student to get that extra half a band up. And believe me, there's a significant difference between a 6.5 and a 7, and it's all down to grammar and fluency and all across the range, and the way you present yourself. And to get anywhere near that, you have got to be confident, and you've got to be relatively fluent, not making too many mistakes, and that takes a lot of achievement. Let me also say about getting that achievement, that's got nothing to do with me. All I can do is I can point them in the right direction. I can give them the materials. I can check and I can work with them, I can talk with them, I can point out their mistakes, etc. But it's up to the particular students to learn how to speak English fluently. I can't do it for them. I can give them all the materials, I can assess them, I can point them, I can cajole them, I can work them very hard in exercise, because I give them a lot of homework, etc. as well, and I'm continually assessing them. And I point out right from day one, if you want to be successful in your English learning, to meet a particular criteria of going to university, etc., in Canada or UK or wherever it is, you have got to work very hard. And I stress to them, even if we got 2 or 3 months before they're planning on taking the exam, I expect them to learn, do some homework every single night. A little bit of homework every single night, whether it's just some listening and speaking, etc., even if it's only for 15 minutes every night. Every minute that they're thinking about English language helps. And and I pushed them on it, and some of them don't like it, but the majority respect me and do what I ask them, and they're successful. They do get there if they keep working to the pace that I want, and we have the time to get there, of course. So that's the teaching, and I've got to say that if you're considering it, there's another aspect to teaching as well, where you can just be a conversation partner for a lot of students. They just want somebody talking to them in English and about various topics, etc. That's easy, relatively easy, as long as you can pick them up and point them in the right direction with grammar and vocabulary and etc. Yeah, that's quite an easy way to teach, actually, but you've got to be fairly fluent yourself to do that as well. And there's a lot of people in many countries, actually. India, South Africa is not too bad, but India and Pakistan, and they have teachers there, and there's teachers teaching on these online platforms that have passed their English, that have learned English on those platforms. And I've listened to some of them and their presentations, and to be truthful, they're not good. They're not good. But they're teaching. They're doing conversation English. And okay, it's quite handy for, say, if, for instance, let's take the example that somebody in India wants to learn to speak better English. And there's a lot of people in India, and a lot of them want to speak better English. So getting them off the ground and getting them actually performing is probably better, actually, than another Indian that speaks the same language as them, that has a decent knowledge of English, starts them off and brings them up, because they can explain to them in their own language where they're going wrong. I can do that with Thais. I speak quite a bit of Thai, and I find it very useful when I'm teaching Thai people, which is quite a lot, that I can correct them by speaking Thai. So that's one of the advantages of having more than one language. So that's it. If there's a lot to consider. The way I do. Oh, the other aspect I should mention is teaching children. There's been a big commotion this year, actually, where China has cracked down on Chinese children taking additional schooling, and they've closed down these schools. There was many schools operating in China that were providing additional education in languages, particularly English, where they had a lot of guys and girls out from the various countries, UK, etc., working in these schools and having a bit of fun, seeing a bit of the world, and getting paid for teaching kids. But China stopped it, and they closed, all the schools had to close, and it put all these people out of work, which in turn presented a glut of English teachers looking for work, and a lot more came online looking for work. Some stayed, but a lot of them didn't really hack it, because they had to start constructing their own curriculums and constructing their own lesson plans, etc. I think that put a lot of people off. But the people that were determined, they got there as well. And I ruled myself out of the teaching children a long time ago. When I was watching, when I first came into it, actually, and I was watching all these young graduates, particularly the girls, who were well educated, a good standard of English, and they were enthusiastic and enjoyed working with children, which was a big thing. And when they teach, they had all these fluffy toys and ways that they talked to the children, etc., that I knew that were skills that I did not possess, and nor did I want to possess. I wanted to be able to teach and present topics that were going to help older people. When I say older people, I mean like adolescents and people trying to get to university, or people in business that wanted to improve their business skills, etc., and learn the formalities of business. That was the areas I wanted to teach, and that's where I am now. That's basically all I teach. I do get some people coming asking me to give them some advanced conversational lessons. I've no problem with that. most of them came from recommendations from other people that have taught. So as time goes on, I think it does take up a lot of time. It does take up a lot of time, particularly when you start, and if you're going to do something similar to me, then you have a lot of work to do to create your curriculums and your lesson plans, and you know, it takes a lot of work and work out the advancement from wherever they are, if they're a lower intermediate or a higher intermediate stage, and then taking them up into the near fluency and the fluency aspect. It takes a lot of consideration, a lot of work, and a lot of research to make up the lesson plans, etc. initially. But you do get there, you do get there. And it's quite satisfying when you see people come on and improve and achieve their goals. And that's what I like. And I've made a lot of friends from doing this, and that's a nice part of it as well. But I still enjoy my YouTubing, and with that I've rambled on a lot on this particular video. So if you've got any comments, and I would very much appreciate if you jotted them down below, and I'll try to answer them. Particularly in the teaching, if you're thinking about taking up teaching, let me know. And if you don't have to be in Thailand, you can be anywhere in the world actually. In Sri Lanka, I get many requests from Sri Lanka, China. You can be anywhere and teach online. Anywhere. You could be sitting at home in Scotland and you can. So that's it. That's where my GoPro quit because of its battery finished, and that's when I reviewed the film on the computer. I see that the GoPro doesn't handle too well with the LED lights here in the office. I've never used it for that before, so now I know, and I do apologize for that. I hope it hasn't spoiled the enjoyment of the video and the information I've been giving you, and that if you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to know about any of the things I've discussed today, please jot them down, and I will try my very best to answer them as soon as possible. In the meantime, while all this COVID and all the rest of it is going on, and the Omicron, etc., who knows where we're going to be in 2 or 3 weeks and what's going to be happening in other parts of the world. I don't know, and I don't suppose you do either. And it's very unfortunate. However, if I don't get a chance to speak to you again before then, and you are in an area where this Omicron's taking over, or even if you're here in Thailand, I asking very seriously that you consider yourselves and your families and those that you care about, and try to stay safe, take care, and finally wishing you a very Merry Christmas, as good as it can be, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now. Bye.